Good morning, Antelope Valley. Welcome to our new episode of Your Home in the AV. Today we have an interesting guest. We'll introduce him in a little bit. First off, Carlos, how are you today?
Great, George. How are you doing?
I am absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
So, Carlos, do you have any updates for us?
Yes, basically, we're still trying to grow like we always do every week. We just hired another agent, so we want to say welcome to Francisco Catalan. He's aboard with us now. I think he's number 17 or 18 in the company, so we continue growing. I am interviewing another agent today. I interviewed one yesterday, and I strongly believe that she's coming aboard with us. So we're just going to continue growing. We're also looking in a building that we're going to see if there's any way that we can purchase so the team can get more space than what we have right now. So that we're checking that out. Hoping that this week we can get the approval by the lender, and that way we can move forward. We are writing an offer on it and see what happens. But everything, at the end of the day, belongs to God. So God will decide which way we're going.
That is awesome. Sounds like energy in the Antelope Valley is growing. So if anybody's interested in even asking any questions about energy, feel free to reach out. The number will be at the end of the video. So reach out and please like, share, and follow.
Yeah, call me.
Today we have with us Paul Sanchez from Sanchez Appraisals. He's here to give us a little insight about what appraisals do. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for being here, Paul.
Absolutely.
So, Paul, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Paul Sanchez. Yes. I've been in the real estate industry for 21 years now, and happily married for 10 years. I have 3 beautiful children, and I actually grew up in the San Fernando Valley, but I have been here in the AV for pretty much 21 years. So as soon as I got out here, pretty much is when my real estate career started as well. But the Antelope Valley, I've seen it grow, and just love being part of this community. And I'm also the vice president of the the Antelope Valley Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and that's also how I contribute to our community.
Isn't that where I met you before?
Probably.
I used to work at the job center, and I think I did a contract with you, right?
That's right.
You were training somebody.
Yes, yes, we're always training front desk, office managers, or staff. But yeah, so probably.
So I did meet you. Okay,
we
awesome. I think you were you had a different title then.
Yes, I was the treasurer at that point.
Treasurer, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, Paul, tell us, give us some insight. What does the appraiser do for the real estate transaction?
So the appraiser plays a very vital role. The most important part of it is that the appraiser is unbiased. So everybody in the transaction typically is tied into some type of commission. They have some type of skin in the game. But when it comes to the appraiser is simply there for the asset. You know what I mean? And so regardless of what the seller is wanting out of the property, and regardless of what the deal that the buyer is trying to get out of it, right? The appraiser is solely focused on making sure that the transaction is being transacted in a fair manner, by being fair not to both parties, but just fair that the value of it is represented fairly based on facts that are in the that are in the market itself, not leaning one way or another. So as an appraiser, basically, yeah. So like I tell people, fair is fair, meaning if it's there, it's there, right? If the market has it, I mean, and the property deserves it, I mean, it'll more than likely get it. But we can't just be making numbers out of thin air.
Okay, understood. Yeah. So I got a question.
Go ahead.
If I got a deal, right? Yeah. It went into escrow. Now I need an appraiser. Can I, as an agent, say, hey, you know what? Call Paul Sanchez.
Unfortunately, that all changed when the market crashed. So in 2008, they said goodbye to yesterday, right? So what happened was prior to 2008, absolutely. Actually, we used to do marketing around January, February, because we would go to all the little mortgage companies. Remember that? There was a bunch of mortgage companies in every corner. And we would market to the big ones, to the small ones, to people. And absolutely, everyone could just say, hey, I want to use Paul Sanchez. But ever since 2008, they said, you know what? We want to avoid any sort of influence, on the appraiser, more than anything with the lender, because lenders would obviously call us up. Can you do a value check? But they didn't really want a value check. They wanted to, hey, by the way, can you just bring it in? You know what I mean? And we'll pay a little extra. And so, by the grace of God, we were smart enough. At that time, I was at a mutual company with a friend, and we decided to not do that. But a lot of appraisers did fall for that trap. And although the banks will never take fault. I mean, you got to understand at that time when they had a 0% interest, 100% financing and stated income. I mean, that was just a problem waiting to happen, right? But don't get me wrong. Lenders were calling all the time, putting pressure, trying to, pay more for value to come in. And it's unfortunate that a large portion of appraisers were doing that. And it sucks because you were having people that were unfortunately paying $30,000, $50,000. I had one case that we found out later, the lady had paid $200,000 over market value.
And the bank let her do that.
When the lender has a commission to make, or at least the loan officer, should I say, they'll turn a blind eye to certain things. So, and it's unfortunate because it made it that much harder. I mean, modification and all that came afterwards, but it made it harder for her to climb out of that, however she did. But it's just, anyway, so they stepped in and said, hey, I think it was Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, but probably Freddie Mac. There's anyways, but that's why we have appraisal management companies now. So the lender takes on has the client, they need a home. And first and foremost, the appraisal has to be ordered. If you're going through a bank that is FDIC insured, or it's a FDIC insured loan, they have to order the appraisal themselves. And even the lender itself cannot keep the appraisal fee. They have to pass that on completely to an appraisal management company who technically basically is looking for the appraiser, manages the connection and the communication with the appraiser, and keeps the separation between the lender and appraiser separate. And as a matter of fact, it's illegal for the lender to talk to us directly.
So let me just surmise that.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that by you could be influenced if a particular lender does a lot of deals and he's calling you out consistently. So they try to persuade you in their favor to get the deal done.
We'll give you more work.
And that's why we can't pick our own appraisers anymore.
Yeah, because they want to assure that there was no backdoor influence, even with even the borrower or even the seller. Even as an agent, if I was to recommend an appraiser to the bank, that bank by law here in California, every state is different. There is it's called the AIR, the Appraiser Independent something, forgive me. But whatever the case is, there has to be an appraiser independence, meaning even if an agent just refers them, the bank has to automatically exclude them.
Right.
Yeah. So any referral of an appraiser, the bank has to just say sorry, because there's a potential there that something was maybe potentially spoken about.
Something was tainted.
Something was tainted. Even if I do an appraisal and the borrower or the seller has my last name, I have to put a comment saying that if I do know them, then I can't do it. But I can't even do an appraisal for family members, period, or really close friends. Anything that will show bias, it's just best for an appraiser to say, let me pass you on to someone else or decline it. So that's how serious they take it.
Yeah. I think that was one of the best things, George, that they did when the market collapsed, because there was a lot of agents and a lot of lenders that were taking advantage of this and putting their clients into a dangerous situation. I strongly believe that would cause what happened in 2008, because they were just taking advantage by adding prices that they were not existing in those homes. I always like, to take care of my client, either as a listing agent or as a buyer's agent, to make sure that was not happening in my deals, because In the end of the day, yeah, you're gonna make a couple $100 more as a commission, but you really messing up the buyer lives, the buyer's opportunity to buy the house the way it should be. You know, the appraisal is actually up there for the buyer's best interest to make sure that the buyer is paying the correct price and the market value it should be there, not it's something that's going to increase. Of course, if they get a good deal and the property is worth a lot more money, it's better for the buyer to buy it like that. But you know what? That's why the way they're doing it now, I like it because that protects our buyers to not to overpay for something that's not worth it.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in on that real quick. It's and the seller should get as much as it's worth, but yet the buyer should also not have to overpay more than it's worth.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong. Who creates value? The market. Who is the market? Buyers and sellers, uninfluenced, in an open market that can make responsible decisions. But point being is that now if a buyer wants to overpay or pay more, like if the appraisal doesn't come in, or even if it does come in and they want to negotiate more, whatever they want, as long as they're willing, if they pay above what they're able to get the loan for, because the appraisal report is at the end of the day as much as the lender's going to lend. That's really why the bank wants it, because they say based on what the appraiser said, this is how much we're willing to give. Now, if a buyer wants to pay above and beyond that, and I have seen that, guess what they just did? They just brought everybody up with them.
And you know, that's a great point that Paul is bringing out, because that at least is giving the opportunity to the buyer to decide if they're willing to do that. If they love the house, I've seen it too, that, you know, some buyers will pay for it because they love the house,
Right.
which that's great for the neighborhood because price goes up.
Yeah.
You know, but that's something that at least this way is allowing the buyer to choose if they really want to do that or not.
So a house is worth what a buyer's willing to pay for it.
There you go.
That's right.
That's what it is. Ultimately, that's old sentiment, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and what a seller's willing to accept.
Right.
But absolutely, what a buyer's willing to pay.
So Paul, give us, so say I'm a seller. Can you give me some tips on me? I want to plan on selling my house. How do I get the most out of my house? What do you look for?
So, so it's not necessarily what I look for, right? So what I am looking for technically is what the market shows to be willing to pay more for. So typically, so in real estate, it's true. I mean, first and foremost, location. Why? Because where the house sits, that within a certain radius, or sometimes even an entire zip code. I mean, it just depends. You're never boxed into just a radius, but you first got to define the market. You know, let's say, I don't know, West Palmdale could potentially, based on the data, all based on market data, could be a different market than East Palmdale or even West Lancaster, right? So you define your market. So once you define your market, you start to see the trends. You want to get apples for apples. And so once you start to pull properties that are similar to one another, what we have noticed is across the board, more than anything, usually, so what I always tell people is your gross living area, the size of the home will always box you in. It is what it is. So, but from there, usually the next thing that usually contributes the most to value, it's not always accurate because the market can change. Because if the market is booming, it's one thing. If the market is stable, it's another. If the market is crashing, some people don't care about certain things. But for the most part, consistently, condition. It's the condition of the home. The more remodeled or updated it is, technically, and I say technically because it's not always true, but technically it will help gear you towards the upper end of your market. From there, usually items like probably pool, maybe, you know, so between gross living area, condition, and then bigger items like pool or a big workshop, those are things that tend to have, you know, the most. But just know, like, if the market was crashing, no one would care about a pool. You know what I mean? So, but condition across the board, it's the first thing you see. It's the first impression. It's usually what would gear and move the market in a certain direction.
Okay. So, Carlos, do you have any ending statements or anything you want to ask Paul?
You know what? I just want to say thank you for coming. That's great information. And when it comes to appraisals, it's so much that we can talk about it, but we don't have the time to do that today. You know, it's a short time. So I just want to say, Paul and I, we also belong to the Men's of God, and we meet every Tuesday at 6:45 in different locations. So we would like to invite you guys to come to our meetings. You know, these are businessmen of God, and we are totally there to study the Bible, totally to do God's will, how we should be doing business. So I would like to invite everybody to come and see us. Paul, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Follow us on Instagram for more information because the location does change every Tuesday. But other than that, if you ever have any appraisal questions, appraisal needs, Sanchez Appraisal Services, if you Google me, I'm pretty much up there at the top. So you can find me, give me a call, and I will help you out in any way that I can.
Oh, so that rounds up our episode today. I want to thank you, Paul, for joining us. Thank you, Carlos, for being here again. Nice to see you again. Please like, share, and follow Your Home in the AV. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, especially YouTube. Please subscribe.
One last thing, George. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Absolutely.
So
Happy
enjoy your
Thanksgiving.
turkey.
Yes,
Thanksgiving.
gobble, gobble, gobble.
No. That's another couple of pounds coming on,
Oh,
at
yeah.
least.
Easy.
So thank you, everybody. I want to thank Ventura Graphics for hosting us here. It's a lovely, lovely place that they have here. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having me.
George. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Paul.
Absolutely my pleasure.